All right, let's go ahead and dive in. Everybody, welcome to the latest meeting of the OWASP Top 10 for LLMs expert group. Good to have everybody here. Uh, Made a ton of progress in the last few weeks, even after everybody taking a deep breath and letting out a sigh of relief after getting out 1.0. We've actually just dived right back in and have had a lot of activity going on. So it's worth talking about what's happened and where we're going because there's plenty of work left to do. So let's dive in. Um, as always, want to start with this reminder about our mission, and it really is about building this one-of-a-kind expert community that I'm super proud of, and we continue to see it grow just week on week. This idea about this becoming a foundational document, I think it's been just amazing to see this getting rolled into other people's work every week now. So not a week goes by that we don't see somebody publishing somewhere where they are referencing our top 10 list as a foundational resource that they're building on top of, whether it's a company who is actually describing their security products in terms of how they're addressing the top 10, or a government agency using it as part of their frameworks that they're putting together. So that's just amazing. And I think really just the amount of kudos this team is getting for being out in front early and giving people a framework to think about security for LLMs is really just amazing. So we are going to continue to drive discussions and push boundaries. It's been really interesting to see some of the folks on the expert group even just coming back and pushing on some of the definitions and things that we used in the 1.0 list, and thinking about wanting to rethink some of the definitions, things like what's a vulnerability, what's an attack. These are all fair game discussions and things that we'll be attacking as we move through 1.1 and into 2.0. So very excited about that. In terms of the roadmap, a couple updates from last meeting. So last meeting, I very bravely said, we don't need to do 1.0.1. We're going to cancel it. And then Adam and Mike decided they really wanted to do 1.0.1. So they went off, got the spell checker going, and fixed all of the grammar and spelling nonsense in the 1.0 document. Million kudos. Thanks for doing that. It looks much better. Technically, it's the same document, but it just looks more professional and better. So we actually went ahead, published 1.0.1 this week. Got a tremendous response on that, along with the website, which I'll come back and touch base on. So that's been great. Other thing just to mention, and I'm not sure if Mike is on today. I know Mike's had a bunch of things going on, but
No, he's not joining today.
okay. But Mike's been running the localization program, and he has a long list of localizations that are in progress. I think what we decided to do is we're not going to have a localization release because these things are going to get ready when they're ready, and we have teams of different sizes and different geographies working on them. So we'll just publish them as they get ready. But uh, we actually, I think this week saw the first one that was really complete, which is the Japanese one. So we'll just kind of announce these as they're ready and roll them out. I think we have
Yeah, Chinese one Steve is also ready
okay,
and
that's
get the
great.
review.
And I
Yeah.
and I think Hindi is almost done. So when I think about it, between Chinese, Japanese, and Hindi, boy, we just covered like 2 billion people. So
Right.
we're gonna get a lot more mileage out of this work, which is just amazing. And I think there's 6 or 7 others that are in progress. So the other things we will talk about today, and we'll get to them in a bit, is we've started work on 1.1 as well as 2.0, and I'll have the leads for those kind of discuss what's going on. So get into it here. Just in terms of activity, continue to see people joining the expert group at a steady pace, which is just awesome. Uh, people finding our repository and glomming on. But as I mentioned, we did release 1.0.1 this week. We released the website. If you haven't gone into and poked around the website, please go do. There are things there that we didn't have before. We've got a package of kind of social media artwork and graphics that you can use if you want to tweet about this or put it on your LinkedIn, or I think even your Instagram. Mike has created social thingies you can use for every possible format. So go ahead and check that out, surf around the site. I think it's really great for us to have an interactive, HTML version of this rather than just the PDFs, as gorgeous as the PDFs are, for web indexing and linking and all of that. Having an interactive version of the site is just going to be awesome. And I will amend this before I send out the slides to include that Chinese is done as well. So super excited about that. And then we're going to get into the extended core team. I have invited a number of other folks, many of whom are on the call, to join the core team in very specific ways. When we first booted up the core team, I was basically grabbing people who seemed to have particular expertise and who were active. The core team much more these days has people taking on very specific roles, and so I'll kind of show what that looks like. But where I'd like to start is talking about 1.1. That's our next big milestone release. So I asked Adam to take on leadership of pulling together that release. So he's gone ahead. We needed to find new owners for a few of the entries. People did great work on the 1.01 and then said they didn't have time to continue on, which is totally fair. So we found new people to hop on and take that. So if it's all right, I'm just going to stop sharing. I'll let Adam talk about this. Adam, if you want to share screen and show your milestones or just talk through them, floor is yours for the next few minutes.
No pressure. Cool. I can definitely do that. All right. Bear with me 1 second. Nice to meet everyone. For those that I haven't met, can everyone see my screen? The B1 phases? Yeah. Sweet. So, yeah, my name's Ads. I've been working closely with Steve and the core team. It's been a great project working with everyone in the community. It's been fantastic. So yeah, V1.1 officially starts on September the 1st and ends on October the 1st. So pretty quick, but I mean, obviously it's a minor version, so we don't anticipate too many intrusive changes. I published this on our wiki here, which is just as you can see. We've got 4 sprints defined, which are pretty much a week or 2 weeks, give or take. The first week is mainly going to be working on fine-tuning. And what we're looking for is calls for amendments from the community. So when I say that, active in the Slack channels, we have like dedicated Slack channels for each vulnerability. If there is like a new vulnerability, then I suggest then we go through creating that and discussing that, or however that's going to be managed. But the main way that this is kind of broken up and the way that we're triaging the work is through GitHub issues. So if you see something in the top 10 which you don't agree with, or you think could be enhanced or could be improved, then please submit a GitHub issue against the repository. And then our internal team, we triage it and then we'll work with you. And if it's obviously like, I guess, accepted, then it'll be included in the V1.1 release, which the technical leads will submit new PRs to the repo with the updated content and so forth. Obviously sprint 3 is pretty much just a follow-up feedback tuning from that follow-on. And then sprint 4 is basically just giving Mike, Jason, and the style team some time to, re-architect the work. We'll go through grammatical consistency, conformity. We've made like several changes in the core team as well, just making sure like everyone's using like the same linter on their IDE, so we have that same structure of conformity across everything. Deciding on like US English versus British English, we'll do all those as well. So hopefully we'll have that consistency and smooth sailing from now. But any questions? There's some additional info at the bottom. Also create an iCal so you can sign up to these meetings in your calendar. Yeah, and just please reach out, spread the word, spread the love, be proud. And yeah, if you do want to get involved, then we're always looking for people. So I appreciate everyone.
Awesome. All right, thanks, Ads.
Thank you,
Let's
sir.
see. So really quick here. Let's go ahead. So look, it wouldn't be a fun agile development project if we weren't running more than one train. So you know, the 2.0 thing is going to be a big project. In some ways, I think it could be bigger than producing the 1.0 of the list. So I want to give us some time to spread it out and really let it bake, because I think this is where we start to put in maybe a more robust methodology than we used. I'm super pleased with what came out in the 1.0 version of the list, but it was based on expert opinion. That was what we based it off of. There was a lot of data in terms of voting, but at the end of the day, all the data that went in was different people's opinions, and we synthesized on that. And I would like to start to bring in some more hard data sources. And so Emmanuel has volunteered to take over as the lead for this, but I don't, oh, he is here today. So Emmanuel, you want to spend a few minutes just talking about how you're approaching this and pulling together a group to start the work?
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. It's been a tremendous pleasure to be part of this group and also learning. I just want to have a disclaimer here. I'm not a developer, so I've been learning tons as I get engaged within the group, and which is a great part of all of that. And I humbly took on the responsibility, I would say more of an orchestrator of the methodology group. I just want to cooperate and collaborate with the group that will hop on our methodology group, just to make sure we establish a well-structured methodology and got data gathering guidelines. And my view within our group is that we're gonna provide the backbone of the entry leads we'll use for how they're going to collect and store the data. And then what I want to accomplish with that is to have the group more in line and standardized in all of the entries we're going to do, just to make sure we build upon what was done up until now. And then I would like to invite everyone who wants to also have a voice and come together. So this is a collective effort, and we're going to build on consensus and get the strengths of all members of our team to push the train forward. Thank you.
Awesome. So yeah, the point here is to start really working on the methodology. So we're not going to start, you know, crafting new vulnerabilities or anything like that. The focus is on 1.1 for now, but the idea is to start getting an idea, what are the data sources that we can pull from, where we're going to see what's going on in the real world? Can we see things, exploits, attacks? When you go and look at what I'll call the more mature top 10 lists, like the web list or some of the other ones, they have pretty mature frameworks for how they're measuring the data. And look, that does mean they move a little slower. At this point, the web one is such a big project, they only publish it once every couple of years. And I think we're going to move more quickly than that. So we are going to continue to depend heavily on expert opinions and this amazing expert team that we've built. But this is our chance to start to move real data into the process. So really want to thank Emmanuel for jumping in and helping work on that.
Thank you, Steve. I just want to add on to what I said. I think also our work will help security professionals that are not developers. So then I want to add into that for us as we also publish to the wider community. Thank you.
Cool. Talesh is asking, is there a separate Slack channel for the 2.0 methodology discussion? Emmanuel, did you set one of those up?
No, we're just relying onto our main Slack channel, and then we have a team set it up there. If you go to the messages, you will find how to join us there.
Okay. You might want to think about setting up a sub channel. We're doing that with a lot of the sub teams, but I'll leave it up to you to manage and then
So,
publish out on the list where you're doing that.
I'm confused. There's a data gathering methodology channel in Slack that was created that you're in a manual. Am I missing something?
No, yeah, that's the one where we are meeting.
You want to just put the name of that in the chat, Emmanuel, so everybody knows it and then they can go join? Great.
Absolutely. We'll do it right away.
Okay. So let's see. Let me share a different thing here. So yeah, I want to spend a couple minutes talking about the core team structure as we've evolved this. Again, as the project gets bigger, we're going to put some more structure in place to make us better able to scale. This page is up on the wiki. We've always had a core team list, but what you'll see here is in terms of roles, we've defined a lot more roles. The only defined roles previously were the design lead and the PR lead, and everybody else was kind of an at-large expert. But very specifically what we've added, y'all heard, well, everybody's seen Mike busily working on design stuff, and Mike is staying in that role and continues to work his butt off. So we're super grateful for that. I did post last night. I think we're looking for a new PR lead. I've had some volunteers, some of whom are on the call. I'll hope to close that up in the next week or so while I talk to people. Ads taking on 1.1. Andy has graciously acting as feedback lead. So he's been going in, setting up the GitHub issues structure, procedures for putting in issues, how do those get triaged, doing really great work there. The other one that I want to call attention to is John has stepped up to act as our overall liaison to standards bodies, regulatory groups, things like that. So John, maybe I'll just give you a couple minutes to talk about some of the early engagement there.
Why not? So it started as a conversation of engaging with some of the cybersecurity agencies, the EU's ENISA, the UK's the National Cybersecurity Centre, and also the NIST. We've managed to get through to NIST. I started contacting them, and I had the call with NIST already. And what's interesting is that what Steve said, although this is a developer resource, it happens at the point in time where, you know, it acts as a compass to people. It acts as a compass thinking broader about AI security, and that came out of the conversation with the researchers at NIST. So we are arranging another. They're also updating their work on adversarial AI, and they're very interested in working with us. So we'll be having another follow-up in October. I've been away for a couple of weeks, so I've neglected that, but I will set up a channel on Slack so we can discuss that. I don't think these are the only three organizations we want to talk to. There is the Linux Foundation, there is MITRE, there are many others that we need to consider. I think something that comes out of those conversations is something that we perhaps neglected a little bit, and it goes alongside data. All the research that we have done in those early days of conversation, the references, the papers, I think that's an asset that brings great value to everyone. So I'll start cataloging that and tagging it and creating it as a research database. And I will be looking for people to help with that too. That's something that definitely the NIST guys expressed an interest. And also this morning I actually had a conversation with someone who's setting up a call with the UK's NCSC, and similar feedback came. So I'll set up the call, I'll set up the group today, and then we can start the conversation. I'll start publishing some of the goals that we'll set for that.
Great. let's see, I'm not going to get a report out from each entry yet since we're just starting 1.1, but you will notice people here marked as entry leads. These are people who are graciously volunteering their time to coordinate all the feedback on one or more of the entries in the top 10. The other thing here, next one up, Will, calling him our Postmaster General, but let's see, is Will on today?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, cool. You want to talk about what you're doing with the newsletter?
Sure. So, as you all might have seen in the Slack yesterday, I've set up a newsletter place or a place where you can subscribe for the newsletter. There's also been a draft for the first version that's already been looked at by the core team, and I'm planning to send that out later today. Currently, my plans are for the newsletter to summarize once a month what we've been doing, and having that for people that can't attend this meeting, or Slack is a little bit noisy for them, or just people that want to know what we're doing without totally being involved. This is one way they can learn what we're doing. A lot of the content there are things that I put together. So if you have ideas for other things that we should be having in a monthly newsletter, let me know, or any feedback once that is sent out, that would be great. But otherwise, open to everyone's thoughts and hope it is very useful to you all.
Awesome. I'm really excited about that. I know we have a lot of people who want to just follow progress on what's going on, and not everybody is willing to camp out 24 hours a day on the OWASP Slack instance. So I think this will be a great way to get us some much broader exposure. Will, any idea how many people have signed up for it so far?
Yes, so far we've gotten 30, and I think that's primarily been through me sharing it in Slack and then a little bit on my socials. But I expect as we send it out and then people are forwarding it to others, that number will grow. But yeah, feel free to share that subscribe page on LinkedIn or Twitter or wherever you want, and I'm sure we'll get those numbers up as well.
Cool.
Hey, sorry to interrupt. Will, have you posted anything on social media? If so, can you link to your post and then I'll just reshare yours if that's cool.
Yep, I'll
I'll
get
use
that to
your
you.
typing efforts.
Sounds good. Yep, I'll
Awesome.
get that to you, ads.
Does it make sense to have a link to that in our various publications, like the PDFs that we generate and that kind of thing, to advertise?
Yeah, probably does. I know Mike was adding a link to the website this week. I just added a link to the main OWASP site for it. So I think we'll start to promote that some more with the subsequent publications we're doing. It's a great point. Okay, that's Will. We already did Emmanuel. Bob. So one of the things that came up pretty organically during 1.0 was the idea that we wanted one or more diagrams to help people who are visual understand what we were doing. It was pretty chaotic at first, even though some kind of cool things have come out of it. So we thought this would be something where it'd be great to have somebody acting as a lead to really propel this forward. So Bob, you want to talk briefly about what your sub-team's doing?
Sure. So we are working with Mike's help to finalize kind of a high-level generic architecture picture. It's not intended to be a prescriptive, here's what your LLM architecture should be. It's more of a, here's a general pattern they tend to follow, with the emphasis being on, well, where do these vulnerabilities typically pop up? Where does prompt injection typically pop up? Where does this? So it's kind of a where's Waldo picture for all these vulnerabilities. As we get into it, there's been a lot of discussion recently about taking that a step further and looking at some data flow, taking that a step further into some more introductory vulnerability diagrams. So we definitely want to drive that down into those areas. The other area that I'm interested in is if any of the leads feel like their sections might be served by having a picture that helps describe the sections. Our real mission, in my mind, is education. It's getting people to understand this top 10. getting the tools to be able to understand our top 10 so they can map what they detect in an application to the vulnerabilities so that we're able to start gathering our statistics with a manual. So anything we can do with pictures to help express ideas, I'm thrilled to help out with. And our team would, we have some very vocal people in our group that are interested as well.
That's fantastic. All right, thanks, Bob. Last one I wanted to cover out here is Jason. Is Jason on?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. So yeah, we asked Jason to step up into a new role that, again, sort of cropped up during the 1.0 publication. As we got towards the end, we looked at it and we realized we had people not only writing in different versions of English, but we had every entry was using a different bulleting style, a different link style, just a lot of things when we pulled together the 10 entries into a single document that we realized we'd really be better off with some concrete guidance for everybody working on this. So Jason, you want to talk about the sub-team and how you're pulling together the style guide?
Sure. So I think initially, really, I'm open to suggestions, but I'm going to work with Mike, who's done kind of a lot of work and some groundbreaking in this area already to get the publication looking as nice as it does. But I think the output that we're looking for is kind of a guide that people can use as they write the entries that the leads can use. And also kind of retroactively going back and cleaning up, which I understand a lot of that work has already been done, but I think there's still places where we can go back and fix once we've decided on standards. So defining those standards, creating guides for people and examples, and then going back and cleaning up and making sure that as we move through the different versions going forward, those style guidelines are being met and are adjusting to needs as we identify new things that come up. I think that's the main goal there. So not super technical, but critical to making it look polished and nice.
That's awesome. So let's see, I saw one question in the chat. Let me scroll back and find it. Yeah, a question from Bob here. Which lead, if any, would be I think that means tasked with interfacing with the flurry of vulnerability detection monitoring tools coming to market.
Yep.
I think that's a really good idea, and I don't think we've thought that through yet. Bob, I don't know if that means you're volunteering to do that or if it's just a suggestion, but I think that's a good thing to carry over into discussion over on the Slack channel and see exactly how we should approach that. But I think working with, we've seen a number of open source initiatives that are doing pieces of this, and it might be great to sort of formalize our relationships with those other open source groups. And then commercial tools. And I mean, I will raise my hand. Contrast has already added a rule for prompt injection to our product in the AppSec space. And we're seeing other more AI security focused companies coming out and leveraging top 10. So that'd be another good thing to do, is pull together lists of tools and things with people who are working on these topics.
Yeah, my intent more was to be able to answer questions and work with those teams so that, because ultimately, if they understand our vulnerabilities better and can map what they're detecting to our vulnerabilities, that's going to make our data gathering easier.
Nice. Well, hey, what I might suggest, Bob, if you're up for it, spin up a discussion over on the main channel about that, and
Yeah,
we can
we'll
see what people are interested in doing. But I think it's a
Okay.
great discussion topic.
Yep.
All right. Got a couple more things to hit here. Okay. All right, so next meeting is in 2 weeks. We got off kilter a bit due to Black Hat, but we're going to try and get back onto cadence of doing these regular time and place every 2 weeks. Thanks to Ad, who put together a calendar appointment and things, which will hopefully make it easier for people to keep track of. But as always, there's a page on the wiki for meetings, which will include updated dates, links, Zoom, all of that as well. So we'll try to keep all of that in sync for everybody. But the next one should be scheduled for this time and place in 2 weeks. So at this point, I will just open up the floor for open discussion. So we've been pretty successful so far with this team for people just jumping up and piping up during this section. So if you want to, go ahead, or if you're comfortable, go ahead and use the raise hand feature, and I'll call on people in some approximate order. So any comments? Aubrey.
Hey guys, I just have a quick question, and maybe I missed it. I'm fairly new, but I had a question asked of me over here at F5. Someone was looking to try to play with some things, and it occurred to me, do we have a juice shop equivalent yet? I think it's probably going to be something that is very necessary for people to test in their own environments, as well as obviously for vendors and things like that to try and craft solutions.
I have a list, Aubrey. Oh, go ahead, Adam.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I have a list as well. I'd be willing to share. I think it may be beneficial for us just to put something like that in the wiki that people can contribute, because I've been contacted by a lot of people who have actually got their own open source projects where they're actually building it. And then there's obviously commercialized products as well, which could also, just help increase our space. But I have a list which I'm willing to share or put in a wiki if you need.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I'd love
Sandy.
to see it, because I know when you give, people the ability to do this thing easily, like if there was a Terraform to spin up resources real quick and tear down, I know that's,
Yeah.
we're talking
Unfortunately,
about
there's
bigger
nothing.
things, but
Yeah, unfortunately, there's nothing like Terraform, like you can build in your own environment. That'd be awesome, like a Docker or something. But there is like SaaS, I guess, based stuff. The best way you can describe it. But yeah, it's hard to Google, so I appreciate that.
yeah.
Someone
I
had.
think Sandy had a comment as well on that.
Yeah, just I have a list too. So we can I'll just compare my list to Adam's list, and we can make sure maybe I have some he doesn't have, and he probably has some.
That's great. If you two want to collaborate and put something up on the wiki as a starting point, that would be awesome. Look, it's been on my mind and been suggested since the very early days of the group that we need Juice Shop, WebGoat, whatever for this. And, maybe we do get to the point where we want to spin that up as a formal sub project for the team, where we work with something that's started and have something more formal from our group in that space. But let's get a survey of what's out there, and then we can take a look at it.
I think someone had posted on the early days on the Slack channel, a member project that he was doing. But yeah, let's see the list. I'll post a link there too.
Okay, great.
I think there's enough smaller models, 2E or even 7B that's only 5 gigs or so. There's enough smaller models that we could probably look at building our own instance that people could self-host, which I think is definitely a gap right now. There's a lot of people that have put out, hey, come try prompt injection on our AI that's running, but there isn't really, that I've seen anyway, a lot of, hey, here's some code that you can go run and get your model up and running in your own environment and play with it on your own. And I think that could be a really useful experience.
Yeah, I think the other piece is, right, I mean, people are so obsessed with prompt injection, and all you need to do to experiment with that is have a place you can post a prompt. But as we know, a lot of our more interesting vulnerabilities are on the other side of that. So having a full system that, maybe included a vector database full of embeddings and all sorts of other things where you could really see the architecture and probe it in different ways, I think that, could be a really cool project. So
and agent interaction is going to be critical, and you don't get that right now in any of the examples.
So great point.
Yeah. I think maybe even spin up a channel, because this would be a whole separate repository under the OWASP, similar to like Completely Ridiculous API. See if we've got people who are interested. I'd definitely be interested and could contribute to that.
All right, well, let's do this. Let's start with Sandy and Ads. You two collaborate on putting together a wiki page. Let's do a survey of what's out there, and then we can kind of take that and see if there's a bigger project that our team wants to undertake related to that. It seems like there's a lot of enthusiasm here, so that's a good sign. Very cool.
Any chance to break stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I might bring up the checklist that
Yes.
I added to the Slack channel yesterday, Steve.
Go ahead.
And just would be interested in any feedback. I've made a couple edits since I posted that, but the purpose behind it was, you know, all of us have been thinking about, you know, LLMs and security and all of this for, you know, 4 or 5 months, but most organizations are just overwhelmed and don't know where to start. And the other issue that a lot of people look at it as strictly a technical issue, and they're not thinking about all the legal implications, such as, you know, the liability, warranty, cyber insurance, privacy, and those types of things. So it's just I created it so businesses can go through it and start being able to say, okay, what do I need to start thinking about, and how do I approach this? And I'm seeing kind of two ends of the spectrum where you're either like all in and you're really excited and everyone's integrating LLMs to everything, or they're blocking it. And I really think that there's people need to think through their strategy and find that middle ground, because, you know, if you think you're preventing it by blocking it, chances are you're not. And you're not taking advantage of all the potential benefits of using these models to improve the work and being able to find things. Also, the other end of the spectrum, if you're attaching it to everything, you may not be considering all the other issues that you may be exposing yourself to. So would love to get any feedback or suggestions on that.
Yeah, I'd really suggest everybody go take a look at this. I took a quick pass through it yesterday when Sandy posted it, and you know, going back to the early days of the group, we set out the charter for the top 10 list that we were going after, kind of, you know, very much developers and security teams. It's a very feet on the street kind of document, even though I've gotten some great feedback from CISOs like Sandy, who said the document's been useful, but I think having a resource that's aimed a click or two up could be tremendous. And Sandy and I had a brief discussion yesterday about maybe making this a formal sub-project on the team. So we're going to follow up with some discussion. So everybody, please take a look at it and post some comments on Sandy's thread.
Yeah, that was going to be my comment. Was I love this thing, and I can't wait till we can publish it, because I want to be able to point people at it. I know there's several people on the team that are interfacing with executive level folks to try to educate them, and this is going to be an awesome resource to point them at for that.
Awesome.
Agreed. It will make it much easier. You know, it will eliminate that need to constantly translate to their language. So yeah, great stuff there.
One
Great.
suggestion, Sandy, is this like in a Google Doc or something where we can add comments to it? That would be
I'll
really
share
helpful.
Yeah, I'll share it. I can get that shared out to you.
When are we thinking about putting this out? Because I'm actually just about to publish a blog article that will go out to about 2,000 Fortune 5,000 CIOs on this topic, and maybe I can link to it if it makes sense.
Well, take a look at it, Bob, and maybe if you maybe point to it as, hey, we're working on this. This is something that this is, version 0.5 that we're continuing to work on, and we plan to have it aligned with the other releases of OWASP projects.
Yeah, if maybe we can share a link to it, because I'm not sure where to find it.
Okay. It's in the main Slack channel, but I will republish with the link.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Great. All right, good. It sounds like there's a lot of excitement on the team around doing this. Certainly that was my initial reaction as well. So Sandy and I will work on formalizing this, and this will be our first formal sub project then. I'm excited about that. All right, anybody else?
Hey, I had a quick one. I'm Sanket. It's my first time to the meeting. Do you guys have a list of jobs to be done, help needed somewhere? We can start helping, but if you guys are happy, self-sufficient, we'll continue watching.
So couple things. We did just do a survey for some of the sort of big jobs that are going out, and I think we've filled a number of those. But I think one of the things you can do is if you look at the link that ads put out, the instructions for 1.1, I think one of the best ways is to basically dive into the process of building 1.1, and you can start to look at the document, put in your comments, file some issues. That's a great way to get engaged with the team. There are also Slack channels, sort of sub channels on the main OWASP Slack for each of the issues. So maybe you find one or two of those issues that you want to deep dive into and start to engage with the team. As you find your way around, if you have suggestions for things, just as others have done here, for sub projects or other things, just go ahead and post to the main channel and raise your ideas. Welcome to the team.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, please scrutinize GitHub issues. Reach out in the channels.
Will do. I'm just looking at the specific help that you need. So let me know. I just joined the channels. Happy to help where we can.
Great.
Cool. Thanks.
I'd suggest look at the wiki page for 1.1. Again, I think Adam, maybe you want to drop the link in one last time in the chat for the 1.1 instructions. I think that's going to be the biggest activity for the group for the next month. So if you want to dive in and follow along on the instructions for there, Ads has links to very specifically what he's asking people to do and how to engage. All right, team. As always, really excited about this. Just the progress, the momentum here is tremendous. Love seeing everybody's face on the meetings. And again, we do get lots of people who watch these on YouTube later. So I'll have up YouTube links and slide shares in the next 24 hours or so, and I'll share those out to the main channel. But thanks to everybody who makes time to be here in person and contribute. This is a really important part of the process. So let you all go. See you again in 2 weeks. If not, see you on Slack every day. Bye, team.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.